Łudzinika.
What's up, guys? It's Tasteless and Valdez here for another day of Pro League 2016.
I love that picture, man. Every
That's
time
right.
I see it, reminds us of how good-looking we
That's
are.
right. Every time I see it, my confidence definitely goes up.
Yeah, man.
We've got two very exciting matches today. It will be best of 5 for both of our matches. It is already preset as far as who plays who, but if we do go to the 5th game, which is the ace match, each team will get to pick out their viewed MVP player in an attempt to close this out with a victory.
First matchup is going to be Janair versus KT Rolster. We got Maru versus Losira coming up first. That's a pretty exciting match, man. I'm not sure if we've seen Losira yet in Pro League. I don't believe we have. But Maru, you know, as good as always, he's won his one match. Really excited to see what he could bring to the table today.
Yeah, Maru's looking very good. Still definitely a solid player. We also have TY today as well, somebody who's really wowed everybody with just incredible builds, incredible execution, coming in as Terran into Legacy of the Void and looking unstoppable.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a really interesting matchup, these two teams. Two really strong teams from last year. They've pretty much retained a lot of their great players. They've added some new ones, and I don't know, I think this really could go either way. If I had to choose one, I'd say KT, maybe with the 3-1. That's what my predictions at least said.
Sure.
I don't know what you're thinking, Tasteless, on this one.
I don't remember my exact results. Let me see this real quick here. I predicted Maru wins Game 1, SOS Game 2, TY Game 3, and Rogue Game 4.
So you're going with Janair, actually, 3-1.
Yeah, I was going 3-1 Janair. Wanted to make sure I was right about that.
I can't argue with
directly
you.
Contradicted you on camera there.
You're on track to get that Nostradamus award. You're on top of the foreign predictions right now.
So far, so good. I think we're going to show that in a little bit here, but I'm sure in good time I will fall off. I've gotten pretty lucky with some of those.
You had a fantastic week last week, so you're doing pretty well.
Don't stop. Don't tell me how great I am. Don't stop right now.
You're only on track to defeat Daehyun, who's the real Notre Dame.
He's going down. Don't you worry. Here's our rankings so far. As you can see, not surprisingly, SK Telecom currently ranked 1. Now, something I would say should surprise most people, the Afrika Freaks are ranked 2.
Yeah, they're up there. I mean, they've played one extra game, so we have to wait and see what the other teams are going to do here. But going into today's matchup, as we said before, Janair versus KT Rolster. And every single matchup here is going to be close, I would say.
I think so.
Rogue has been having some trouble in recent times. He really didn't show up at GSL.
Yeah, I'm still hoping that he's going to pull through here. But yeah, when I casted him in Code S,
yeah, I think it was just like an off day.
It
didn't,
like
it didn't look like Rogue at all. I was watching those matches, man. They were, I mean, not to say too much about Rogue, but he just did not have his day.
It was not the Rogue that I'm used to casting, or I'm sure everybody at home is used to watching. So I'm chalking that up to, you know, everybody has a bad day. We'll see, though. I hope this is not something that's going to be consistent throughout the rest of this year here for Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Well, we're going to get into this match in just a bit. Match number 1 here. Now, you were talking about Maru. You predicted him. I think a lot of us predicted Maru. He's had some trouble with his injuries. His shoulders, his wrists have been having some problems at the end of last year. But I think he's had some time to rest, get back into the thick of things here.
Yeah, let's see how he does. Losira is somebody who has been with us since the very early days of the start of GSL. Fantastic Zerg player. Sometimes he's very solid. Sometimes he is a little bit rocky, but can still come out with a win. This time around, I'm saying Maru's the favorite, but who knows?
Yeah, Losira's. I've kind of marked him as somewhat inconsistent. Sometimes he'll come out and 3-0 in a ZVZ. I think he did that against Dark one time, and then he'll come out in Pro League and lose to like Seed, and I'm like, what's going on with this guy?
Right?
You know?
Yeah.
Why? Where is he as a player? But he's now joined KT Rolster, so I think he'll become a lot more solid and more dependable as a player for sure.
Well, definitely joining a team like KT cannot hurt. And as you can see here, So far, we predicted across the board, all the casters here, and I'm sure you guys at home as well, that Maru should, by all measure, come out on top. However, best of one on any given day of Pro League. A cheese can take you out, so Losira might have a trick up his sleeve.
Swear to God, Losira just looks eviler and eviler every time I see him. He's giving
Maru
the death stare through the monitor. I'm getting really scared, Tasteless. I don't know.
All right, guys, we're ready for game number 1, Pro League 2016. Into our game over here in the green, he is Maru. And his opponent down here in the bottom left in the red, it is Losira.
Giving that death stare. Always one of the most focused pro gamers that I've ever seen.
It's so funny because, I've been, I think I'm getting close to, how long have I cast at Starcraft 2 for? When did the beta come out?
Starcraft 2?
Beta came out 6 years ago, right? But the game's been out.
2010, yeah.
And so, but I think the actual StarCraft 2 release with tournaments and all was somewhere in it later on there. But I've been casting Losira since the get-go. And it's so weird for me because when I first would hear him talking backstage or see him at overseas events, he just had a younger voice, like the voice of a younger man, right? And now when he comes inside the studio, he's got this really deep, resonating voice where he says hello to everybody, and I'm always like, who is that? And then I'm like, oh my God.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
He is so much older now.
He really has grown. He's got that caster voice, Maybe he's got a career in the future here.
Yeah, he could. Why not, man?
He walks in the room and all of a sudden it's like...
No, seriously, he has this big booming voice that fills up.
Annyeonghaseyo.
So it's kind of funny to see these guys grow up. And, T.Y., who was baby before, I was watching him. He was just like a little guy.
He really was a baby.
Maru as well. And I'm seeing them turn into young men. So it's pretty cool to see these guys not just evolve as players, but develop as people as well. So we got Maru down here going for Reaper opening, followed up with a command center. And about as generic as you can get for Zerg, since Zerg is, no matter what iteration of the game, basically going to do the same looking opener of getting a hatch and a spawning pool.
He puts his hatch outside. I guess he just wants that free third hatch in the back door.
The thing is, the free one's really in the very, very back. This one's actually the one where you got to defend it.
Yeah, so I guess he's supposing that Maru's not going to go for any kind of early big rush here, or at least has confidence that he should be able to defend any kind of pressure from Maru.
Yeah, well, if you do take this base in the front, you always get the base in the back. And Terran could have a harder time telling when you got that, unless they're going to send one scan out on that. Let's see if he can get the interception here.
Just trying to go for it. The Reaper just goes up the ramp, does a bit of damage. Looks like Losira's just going to wait for the Queen to pop out, which it does. And continue. Loses a Zergling there.
Yeah, good job. I think it was one small note is that it was really smart he went up the ramp instead of hopping up. It's easier to avoid getting trapped by Lings in moments like that, since the Reaper can always outrun the Lings as long as it doesn't have to deal with the animation of leaping off of the high ground onto the low ground again.
Yeah, that's true. And look at this. Like we were saying, he takes that third backdoor base, but Maru has no idea. If Losira was taking the outside third base, he'd have his Reaper in position to even do a bit of damage to the drone as it comes down. You would have to escort that drone down.
And you know what's interesting about this is that can lead occasionally Terrans to think that you're doing a two-base all-in, right?
Yeah.
If you don't see the third back there, you can't get confirmation, whereas Terran can always scout early on and see that back base there and then poke in with the Reaper and or Hellions into the front and then check later. So it's a smart way to play as long as you can hold it, because it does create some ambiguity in the mind of the Terran as to how the Zerg is going to be playing this out for the next few actually quite impactful minutes.
Yeah. So we do have Zergling speed finishing up here. The Reaper actually somehow still gets up, but the speed should be able to stop him. We'll see what kind of scouting he gets down. Sees no lair, so can probably assume that there is third base coming up here.
Okay, Terran is gearing up now with the stim, making medevacs. We've seen this style of play. It's pretty common now with Terran to do this teching up. I am wondering if he's going to go for any factories here. Excuse me, tanks rather, not factories. We know he's going to have factories. But I'm wondering if we're going to see if he's
New
actually
patch aliens come out of the barracks now.
That's right, man.
Out of the reactor.
That sounds pretty fair. No, but I mean, I am wondering if he's going to go for the tank style of play. We have seen some Terran players not opt to push around with tanks, instead keeping more Heart of the Swarm with just Widowmine Marine.
Yeah, he's going to try to go for a Hellion drop here into the main. Zerglings are waiting, and so he's going to try to drop down here on the low ground, but no dice just yet, no damage. Just going to continue putting pressure onto Losira.
Nicely done there. Just keeping him zoned out, and we see the double Evo chamber as Lucira's more confident now that he can go into a later part of the game. It looks like he wants to try to drop in on this side over here. Let's see if the Lings are coming here for a possible surround.
Well, that was a nice little hit. They're going to get 3 drones, gets the surround, but all the Hellions do get away, forces a big pull. I mean, he found a hole in the defense there, so not bad.
Yeah, as long as he's not losing the Hellions or the medevac, anything he gets is better than nothing, right? I do also like the Viking play. We've seen this commonly followed up after the medevac to drive out all the overlords to make medevac stronger later on.
Yeah, it's really cool. He's got these 4 Hellions now on the ground. He's going to be content to trade here a bit against the Queen, but decides to lift off. I like the way that Losira is playing so far. Very safe.
Yeah.
He's getting the Baneling Nest very early, just in case any kind of infantry push came out. He's getting the lair a bit later, starts his upgrades first, and he's going to have all the necessary defense here against anything that Maru could have done.
The 4th base is something you definitely can get fairly easily with Zerg, but holding it can be tougher because of the high ground behind on where that 4th base is. That's oftentimes a focal point for where Terran pushes. Some Zergs actually prefer to take the center left. I'm not sure if it's going to be the case this time around. Also important to know, in even supplies right now, we have Maru actually going in here for the push. And I'm not sure if he's going to go all the way in or just try to delay the creep, but this is definitely something Zerg might have to deal with, losing a little bit of footing here.
Yeah, going to have to reestablish that creep, but I think he should be fine as long as he's on 3 bases. He's very well prepared. He's got a lot of Banelings out here. No Baneling speed, though, which could be a problem. Still has not started that with the lair.
Okay, he's actually just going to push up here with the Hellbats. This is a pretty interesting timing push. He needs the Hellbats to absorb the Baneling hits, and it looks like they are, but so many Lings now spill down here.
Coming around and getting the big surround on all of those Marines, going to force the big lift off there, but he actually does clean up the rest of the Banelings, and there's still a lot of Marines left.
Oh, wow, that actually went better than I even realized. Yeah, he actually loaded enough up into the medevacs.
Yeah.
He can just stim and come forward here. Now, 1-1 is finishing, but a bit of an anti-defensive timing here, as he's actually going to come in here, and there's no way for these drones to get away. Hellions coming in as well. Zerg's going to lose a good third of his drone count, and probably his 3rd base as well.
Yeah, he's going to lose all of these drones, and that 3rd base is pretty much forfeit.
This attack is pretty sick, man. Yeah. I wasn't quite, you remember I was mentioning the tanks earlier? If that was going to be effective? Yeah, it seems like he wants to go with this kind of a tech here.
Maru's back, man. Look at the splits. Even if he does get routed here, which it doesn't look like he will, he just split all of his units into about 5 or 6 group against those Banelings, and he's just not going to sustain any damage. I think Maru's got this one.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this should be over, especially if he gets the Baneling Nest that's right down here, or even gets these Hellbats in front of the ramp, since they can take out the Lings pretty easily.
Look at that, being healed by the medevacs too.
Okay, he's not even going to waste time trying to get tech structures. If he just gets up here to the next wave of drones, this game is over. GG. Sweet. Maru with a cool timing attack. That's something I would like to go back and take a look at again. I was a little bit confused at first because I'm so used to seeing players go for a tank harass, but yeah, what he's doing is he's setting up for a Hellbat timing.
Yeah.
Coming out there with just enough so that those Hellbats soak up most of the damage so the Marines don't have to. Also relying on the fact that the Zerg does not have, for instance, Mutalisks or anything like that. He can't pick up and be shot down by the Mutas or anything else anti-air for that matter. So essentially, the Marines can endlessly avoid the Banelings while the Hellbats end up just, absorbing all that, and then it's a win from there.
And the other problem was that the lair was so late that Losira was just relying on having a ton of stuff, a ton of Banelings, a ton of Lings to deal with that, but because Maru delayed his third base for so long and just had a lot of his own stuff, and that kind of Maru splitting that we did see there and a nice pickup, it just wasn't enough without Baneling's speed. He was not able to, in fact, defend off of 3 bases as I had originally thought.
Yeah, and he got in there and did the damage right before 1-1 was done for Zerg.
Yeah.
And, you know, once Zerg loses that bulk, I mean, we can talk about this for hours, honestly, about, you know, how Zerg gets dismantled, but especially when you get into that, for instance, front base, even if the upgrade's just finished after the fight's done, the Zerg army is only good if it can meet up and be together. It's not like you spawn a Fuelings here and they win a fight and a Fuelings over there. They're disjointed from each other. Also, when we saw the Hellbats get close to the ramp, that's basically checkmate.
It's like getting tanks at the bottom of the ramp, I guess. A little bit less dominating, but still very nice position.
The thing about the Hellbats is they actually can just stand there and block it off. I mean, the Lings actually can't even get out.
And with the medevacs, Maru had like 6 medevacs by the end of that. They were just getting pretty much unlimited heals the entire time.
You know what else is cool is this explains why he gets the Viking after the first medevac, so the push is unexpected. He actually takes out all those overlords, pushes forward. Yeah, really smart stuff there from Maru. I really like it.
So we are going to go into SOS versus Zest. It's going to be a PvP, and this should be a really interesting one. Zest.
I went with SOS on this.
Well,